Very good evening and welcome to News First Weekend Primetime News. My name is Punchani Abhidasinghe. As always, let's start off with a look at your headlines.
The bodies of 3 persons reported missing found in the Ginganga. Senior DIG Premalal Ranagala emphasizes the importance of bringing in new regulations to uncover criminals.
මතක තියාගන්න මහත්තයෝ අපරාධකාරයා අතට ගන්න පුළුවන් බැරි කමක් නෑ.
Life of a 5-year-old at risk owing to the unavailability of a prescription given 5 months ago.
The bodies of 3 persons who drowned after falling into the Ginganga from Nellore in Galle had been recovered. The Disaster Management Centre noted that the body of 1 person was found last night, while the other 2 bodies were recovered today. Once again, people in several parts of the island have been affected by the inclement weather.
A disturbance in the lower atmosphere resulted in the downpours last evening in Uva, eastern and north central provinces. In the 24-hour period that ended at 8:30 this morning, the highest rainfall of 135.7 millimeters was reported from Handapangala. 3 people who were travelling on a footbridge over the Delaware Canal were reported missing at a time when the water levels of the Ginganga were rising owing to the heavy rains. Their bodies were found in the Ginganga. The victims were all residents of Delaware and Kiriwankatia. 271 families have been affected owing to the floods in Monragala, Hambantota and Ratnapura districts. Meanwhile, the heavy downpour resulted in the Kandurupokuna tank overflowing and 10 houses in the area, including the Polonnaru Model School, were inundated. This was the situation in Beliatta last night. The Kotawaya Bridge along the Angudukul-Palasa-Veerakatiya road was also underwater. Kahakurullan Palasa and houses in surrounding areas in Tanamalvilla were underwater owing to the Kivil Ara overflowing. As a result, 2,000 chickens at a poultry farm in the area died. Meanwhile, locals from 2 Grama Seva divisions in Lunugamvera, Hambantota were affected by the floods. The Disaster Management Centre noted that 92 houses were damaged owing to the Kirindi Oya breaking its banks. The centre noted that measures were taken to provide cooked meals to those affected. The Hatton-Norelli road remains closed owing to falling rocks in the Wind Corner area in Bangalahata. Our correspondent noted that rocks from the area above are being cleared. Meanwhile, locals engage in a prayer for safe passage for those travelling amidst danger. Meanwhile, 37-year-old VG Tirsakumara, a father of 1, was killed by a lightning strike while working in a field in Ratmalgaha Elda in Damulla. 90 families in Vellabaya in the Monragal district were affected by the inclement weather. The Department of Meteorology says that rains can be expected in the coming 2 days as well.
Minister Vimal Veeravansa says that if there are members of the opposition or other progressive individuals who are willing to fight to abolish the provincial council system, he would willingly hand over the battle to them. The minister made this statement during a seminar held in Colombo yesterday.
If there are any progressive members of the opposition, I request them to exert your pressure on the government on behalf of the country. You can do this even if you are independent. Take the battle of abolishing the 13th Amendment into your hands and pressure the government to abolish this amendment, which provides provisions to legally separate the country. We are ready to hand over this battle to you. We do not want the political fame of accomplishing this. There is a small issue in our constitution. Whatever ruling is given in court, it can be tweaked a bit in parliament. They introduced this system by restricting the Supreme Court and twisting the arms of the Attorney General by changing the public consensus. When the robe of racism is draped around these councils, we can understand how naked the councils really are. A special event was organized by the United Society of Three-Wheel Drivers in order to create awareness on the 13th Amendment to the Constitution.
Minister Dylan Pereira says that what should be done is not debate on unimportant topics but serve the public through the provincial councils and local government institutions. He expressed this view at a function held in Mathukama this morning in order to declare open a training centre for the immigration sector employees.
Debates are carried out on unnecessary topics by discussing on whether or not the 13th Amendment should be abolished and whether or not it is necessary. Certain groups who talk about the 13th Amendment talks about the 13 plus, while the others talk about a 13 minus. Minister D.E.W. Gunasekera has stated that he is for neither 13 plus or 13 minus but for 13. I say what is needed is 13 minus 1 plus 2. To reduce what should be reduced and increase what should be increased. In order to establish a provincial council which could serve the public, we should get rid of what is unnecessary.
13 minus 1 plus 2.
Minister Kumar Welgama expressed these views on public transport service. The transport service is being taken forward according to a new vision. A majority of those who travelled by bus are now travelling by train. Therefore, the private bus owners accuse me, saying that people are travelling by train because the train service is conducted in a proper manner. The ticket prices are low and therefore there is less crowds in the buses. This is true.
Leader of the Janaseta Peramuna, Venerable Battaramulle Seelaratana Theri says that the 13th Amendment to the Constitution should be completely taken off. The Venerable Thera made this comment at a press conference held today to brief about the meeting held with the opposition leader.
What we ask is that the 13th Amendment to the Constitution be completely taken off. Nothing has happened to the people from the 13th Constitution. Yesterday, we requested the opposition leader to take this country to the way it was back then by abolishing the Provincial Council Act. He said that all parties will be invited for a discussion with regards to this.
And time now for the newspaper cartoon of the day. The inauguration session of the Gajasavi Thurunuo Youth Organisation was held at the new town hall in Colombo today.
The Gajasavi Thurunuo Youth Organisation was founded by a group of youth across the island. The inauguration session of the organisation was held this morning under the auspices of Deputy Leader of the United National Party, Sajith Premadasa. A number of UNP politicians were also present at the event. The first phase of providing scholarships to university students also took place today. Different people say different things, like this force might arrive or that force might arrive, we might be alone, there might have to be a division, or we may have to go away. They say various things. I would like to say that we will even face the T-56, the bullet, the bomb, the sword or even the machete and rise for justice and fairness according to our conscience. I would like to say that we will work for the victory of the United National Party. The present generation need not be prepared to lay their hands back and hand over the United National Party to fate. We would rise for what's right. Are we going to join the generations of Idi Amin and Boppaso? Or are we going to join the generations of Mandela and Mahatma Gandhi? The United National Party has reached a decisive stage. The investment on education by the budget is not very clear. There is a massive request from society to give 6% of the investment to education. This request is made for nothing else. The main resource in the country is human resources. That means you. The government has a responsibility to make that investment for you.
This time also 2.84% was allocated for education, when the government is boasting about that they created an environment for technological revolutionary thinking. We can assume how this will be done in the future from the allocations that have been made.
නූතන දේශපාලඥයන්ට තාරුණ්‍යයට රැකියාව හොයලා දෙනවට අමතරව තව අවුරුදු 30ක් යනකොට මේ රටේ
A situation will arise in another 3 decades where it will be a challenge to find jobs for the elderly, let alone the youth, to whom the present politicians are trying to find jobs. The mortality rate has decreased where the lifespan has increased. 2 uprisings will take place, one from the south and the north. The youth population has decreased. So because of this, the government in 2030 or 2040 will have to find jobs for the elderly after they retire at the age of 60 as well.
And up next is Crime Watch.
The police said that this corpse was found in a house close to the bus stand along the Okampichu road in Buttala. The victim was identified as 50-year-old Sunita Narayan, a mother of 2. A correspondent noted that she was the wife of a doctor. The Buttala police are conducting investigations into the incident. So far, 22 murders have been reported in this month alone. 17 murders were reported since last Saturday.
In one of our headline-making stories now, Senior DIG in charge of Colombo South, Premalal Ranagala, reiterated the importance of bringing in new legislation on revealing the identities of criminals.
මතක තියාගන්න මහත්තයෝ අපරාධකාරයා අතට ගන්න පුළුවන් බැරි කමක් නැහැ. නිසි දඬුවම් දීම තුලින්
Please keep in mind that criminals can be identified. The number of crimes can be reduced. Punishments should be shown. A rapist should be sentenced to 25 years in prison. A murderer can be subjected to the death penalty under the penal code, and a life imprisonment can be imposed for heroin-related crimes. This type of a method should be introduced. I am attempting to bring a new legislation which will allow us to reveal the identity of the criminal.
මම බලනවා ඉස්සරහට අපරාධකාරයා එවලම කියන්නේ මෙන්න හවල් ගමේ හාවලා තමයි මේ අපරාධය කෙරුවේ කියලා.
The senior DIG made this statement during a public awareness campaign aimed at reducing crimes and corruption. The campaign was organized by the Baralla police station.
Murders reported from across the island over the past few days. Some of the investigations are ongoing. Suspects arrested in some cases within days after the murders. A suspect connected to the homicide that took place down Marine Drive on the 18th was arrested 4 days after the murder. However, suspects of the murder of a person at Dixon Junction, Gaul on the 25th of October and quadruple murder in Podala, Gaul still at large. Is this because the police is not capable of uncovering the secrets behind the murders? Or is it because of unknown forces obstructing the police?